Welcome back, everyone, to the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode is going to be the Baltimore Ravens Week 5 recap. Ravens suffered a very disappointing loss to the Steelers, 17-10. Before we take a deeper dive into that, thank you all for listening. Please make sure you press that follow button right here on Spotify, as well as check out my Instagram at Wedge52Gridiron as well. Please share this podcast with your fellow football fans, fellow football people that you know like to engage and learn about the NFL. And that being said, let's jump into today's episode. I'll start off with a recap of the Ravens' Week 4 performance. It's quite a disappointing one, but then we'll move into kind of looking ahead for the Ravens and what they are going to be seeing Week 6, and kind of some important numbers, some things to look out for the Ravens as they take on the Tennessee Titans next week in London. So like I said, the Ravens lost 17-10 to the division rival Pittsburgh Steelers this past weekend. Both teams are now 3-2 in the season. The Baltimore Ravens Offensive Player of the Week. I am not going to be giving out an Offensive Player of the Week. There's a couple players that potentially could have gotten it, but every single option also had, some downfalls. Offense looked very, very poor against Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm not awarding a Offensive Player of the Week. In terms of defense played fairly solid the whole day. Defense Player of the Week is going to be Roquan Smith again. Roquan Smith had 11 tackles on the day, was kind of all over the field, doing things for that defense, helping that defensive unit play, to be honest, very, very well. They gave up one large play that ended up being the go-ahead score to George Pickens. But other than that, they looked good. The Steelers got the ball on a blocked punt short on their own field. And the defense, did the best they could with that being that backed up. So this one definitely more on the offensive side. Offense, it's showing flashes. This past week against the Steelers, it was so close to being a completely different outcome than what it was. But the Ravens simply did not execute on the receiving end of, a lot of Lamar Jackson passes. Lamar Jackson, he went 22 for 38 on the day, 236 yards, no touchdowns, one interception, as well as a fumble late in the game that came around his backside on quick pressure, as well as 6 carries for 45 yards on the day against Pittsburgh. The interception happened in the fourth quarter, I want to say. It was a poorly thrown ball by Lamar Jackson, who was trying to get the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. in the end zone. It looked like my understanding of it, or, my kind of thoughts on it is, it looked like it was drawn up to be a back corner pylon kind of throw. It looked like Odell did not get, the blow-by that was anticipated. And Lamar noticed halfway through the throw, tried to adjust to make it a back shoulder, and ended up getting stuck in between, back pylon and a back shoulder throw, which resulted in the ball being thrown directly to the defender there. I believe that was Joey Porter Jr. getting his first career interception for the Pittsburgh Steelers. First round draft pick for them this year, or maybe second. But as a result, first interception for Porter. And then the fumble, like I said, came on very quick pressure allowed by Ronnie Stanley, where Lamar, he lost the football as he was trying to throw. He got hit, and the Pittsburgh defense, TJ Watt, recovered that fumble there for them. I believe that's the play that set up George Pickens, a 40-yard touchdown a couple of plays later. Justice Hill looked really good in the first half. Had a lot of defenders missing. Showed some incredible balance on a couple of plays, as well as bent back a inside run for a touchdown there by Justice Hill. However, he had seven carries for 32 yards and a touchdown, as well as 4 receptions for 13 yards, but had a very critical fumble that the Pittsburgh Steelers ended up recovering on that one as well. Zay Flowers, 5 receptions for 73 yards, which, if you didn't see the game, sounds like good numbers yet again, which it is. But Zay Flowers as well had 2 drops on the day, 2 blatant, easy drops, as well as Zay Flowers also stumbled on a deep post / deep cross route that, potentially could have been, a 50, 60-yard touchdown had Zay caught the ball. It was a fairly good throw by Lamar Jackson, slightly behind where Zay was tracking to go. But Zay Flowers tried to adjust, ending up tripping over his own feet and missing the catch on that one as well. Andrews, 6 for 65, but also a drop in the end zone. That one, I'm not quite sure. How I interpreted that pass is that was more of a level 2 throw to the crossing Zay Flowers behind Mark Andrews. But I do not think Mark Andrews, saw that or, knew that he was targeting Zay Flowers. Whether the spacing got spread out or spacing got messed up being in the red zone, or if Mark Andrews' instincts just kicked in, kind of see ball, get ball kind of thing. Either way, should have probably been a catch for Mark Andrews. But that did not go down that way. Rashad Bateman also had a drop wide open in the end zone. The Ravens had 8 drops on the day. 8 drops by Ravens receivers. This is not the wide receiver room that is expected to be having drops. Nelson Agholor had a drop on a probable touchdown as well. Beat the defender. Lamar dropped it in. Went through Nelson's hands. Bad day for Baltimore's offense, specifically the receivers. 8 drops, if those are all completions, 2 or 3 of them are touchdowns, most likely 3. I do think Nelson Agholor was getting in the end zone there. Bateman and Andrews were in the end zone. So that changes things. That's 30 for 38 for Lamar, just on those touchdowns, at least another 50 yards. And Nelson one was, 30, 40-yard shot. So just on the touchdowns that were dropped, you put Lamar at 25 for 38, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's a completely different ballgame. Instead, Ravens had 8 drops. Ravens lose 17-10 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bumps the Ravens down to 3-2, 2-1 in the division. Still, in a very solid spot for Baltimore, but their schedule, not quite yet, but does just continue to get tougher and tougher in that last third of the season. Really, starting off kind of a little bit in the next half of the season. They do play Detroit in 2 weeks, which Detroit is looking very good. After that, they play the Cardinals. They also play the Rams in the second half of the season, who the Rams are actually looking more solid than their record shows. But then, the Ravens in the second half of the season just kind of looking forward long term. When a couple of these losses may come back to bite us, like the Steelers loss, as well as Indianapolis Colts loss. The Ravens do play the Chargers. They play the Dolphins. They play the 49ers, all in that second half of the season. They'll play the Bengals again, which I would project would kind of turn some things around by the time that happens. The Ravens have a tough second half of the schedule. Some of these games, like the Colts and Steelers games, that you really should have won, may impact seeding later down the road. On the other hand, Steelers, didn't do anything incredible. They just did what they were supposed to do. Kenny Pickett on the day finished 18 for 32, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. George Pickens, 6 catches for 130 yards and 1 touchdown. TJ Watt, 2 tackles, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery. Nothing incredible by the Steelers. I want to say in the first half, they were outgained. Ravens offense had 250 yards or something around there, and the Steelers had 50 yards in the first half of the game. So just a brutal performance by the Ravens offense, by the Ravens receiving core. Hopefully they fix that. All of that stuff is fixable. Look the ball in, catch the dang ball before you try and make a move or, celebrate or whatever. But so that should be done. The offense is close. It looked really good this week. It's a completely different ballgame without those 8 drops. Lamar's going 30 for 38. Nelly dropped a 30-something, 40-something yard ball. Zay Flowers dropped what could have been a 65-70. There's 100 right there. Say 150 more yards. We're talking about Lamar having close to 400 yards, 3 or 4 passing touchdowns. It's a completely different ballgame. But off to London, Baltimore Ravens. Their flight to home from Pittsburgh landed Sunday night. Baltimore Ravens departed Monday morning for London to face the Tennessee Titans, who in Week 5 lost to the Indianapolis Colts 16-23. Ryan Tannehill had 23 for 34, 264 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Tannehill's been having one decent game, followed by one poor game, followed by a decent game, followed by a poor game so far this year. I would say this was a decent game, so hopefully that works in our favor over there in London. Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 43 yards, and DeAndre Hopkins had 8 catches for 140. And that Titans defense last Sunday allowed 429 yards, and they allowed 8 for 13 third down conversions by the Indianapolis Colts. So, definitely a team that the Ravens can beat. Hopefully the effect is not the same on them as the last time they went to London. Harbaugh had mentioned, the quick turnaround after the Pittsburgh game is their main source of, the main reasoning for that is to help prevent what happened last time in London, where the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Jaguars 44-7. Last time the Ravens played in London, they arrived in London on Friday, the two days before the game, and we saw the result of that. So, hopefully by going on Monday, it can, alter the outcome, allow the players more time to adjust to the time difference. It should be a 5-hour time difference for them, as well as, get acclimated to the time, get their body clocks changed Monday and Tuesday, be ready to go for normal Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice, Saturday walkthrough. Tennessee Titans offense is currently 23rd in yards per game with just 317 and 26 in points per game at 176. Hopefully the Ravens defense can continue to be locked down, one of the best in the league. Ravens defense is currently 4th in yards per game allowed at 299, 2nd at points per game allowed at 15, and 3rd at pass yards per game with 175, which, like I said, should hopefully push Tannehill towards one of those bad games that he's kind of been flip-flopping back and forth between so far this season. In terms of the Ravens' offense versus Tennessee Titans' defense, Tennessee's defense is 9th in rush yards per game allowed at just 94, as well as 9th in points per game allowed at 18. So the Titans so far have a solid defense for themselves as well. Ravens offense is 4th in rushing yards per game and 8th in third down percentage at 45.1% on the season. So definitely will be interesting to see. Hopefully the Ravens rushing offense, overlooms the Titans rushing defense. Their Titans are allowing 94 yards rushing per game, and the Baltimore offense has been managing 146 yards per game on the ground. So hopefully Baltimore can continue that trend straight at their defense, as well as take advantage of, hopefully watch the film and, kind of determine why the Tennessee Titans defense did so poorly, or what the Colts did well on third down to go 8 for 13 last Sunday, and utilize that to, continue drives, keep drives alive, as well as, just take advantage of that Tennessee Titans defense on third down, who, I didn't write it down, but before last Sunday has actually been pretty stout in their third down percentage allowed up to this point, up to that Indianapolis Colts game for them. So that's mostly all I have for the Ravens Week 5 recap, as well as a little bit of a preview into Week 6. A couple keys to success for Baltimore is going to be defense continue to lock down their offense there over in London. That Tennessee Titans, offense. One of the keys to be doing that is going to be shutting down running back Derrick Henry, who the Ravens have done, fairly well, as well as you can do really against Derrick Henry. Past couple of matchups against Baltimore and Tennessee, as well as just being prepared, a little more prepared in terms of body sleep and body feel and health with moving or with, going over there, getting acclimated throughout the rest of the week like they have chose to do. And then the last thing is just simply catch the ball. The plays last week against Pittsburgh, they were definitely there. The Ravens did not capitalize on them. So hopefully that changes, and this does not become a theme of the year like we have seen Lamar Jackson have to deal with recently, in the last couple of years, like 2020, 2021. But in terms of injuries and health, the Ravens are getting much healthier. Marlon played his first game. Odell was back. Bateman was back. Linderbaum played. Stanley played. They're definitely getting healthier. We'll be interested to see if Morgan Moses made the trip and or will be active for them on Sunday. Running back Keaton Mitchell and Tyus Bowser both started practice. So they are within their 14-day window of when they have to suit up to be active for a game. I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe if they're not, active within those 14 days, I believe they have to be shut down for the season, or at least for another 4 weeks. That's all I have for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Like I said, please share this with fellow Ravens fans, fellow NFL lovers, to try and help me grow. And if you like it, pass it along. Thanks for listening. Make sure you press that follow button, and go Ravens.